Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds Podcast.
Each episode, we invite extraordinary guests who are masters of their craft. They're innovators, entrepreneurs, and of course, motorcycle enthusiasts who have made their mark in the world.
They share their stories, insights, and hard-earned wisdom, giving you a front row seat to the strategies and experiences that shape their successes.
So sit back, grab a drink, and get ready for an exhilarating ride as we dive deep into the minds of these exceptional individuals.
Along the way, we'll uncover powerful strategies, gain fresh perspectives, and explore the limitless possibilities of what it takes to be an American mastermind. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds Podcast. We have a very special episode for you tonight. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Adams.
What up, what up?
We've got Kelly over here, and we got Alec up on the soundboard, and we have a very, very special guest for you. I'm very excited. She is one of the original members of the Bells Motorcycle Riding Club. She's a real estate mogul, and she is one of the most inspirational people that we have ever come into contact with. I am very excited. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Topher, for
Jennifer
that
Wright.
Wonderful introduction. Wow, I'm humbled.
Absolutely. So Jennifer, you want to start us off? You got the first question?
Well, Jennifer came in with quite a list of amazing. We could do many podcasts, at least 8 episodes, with the material that you brought in. So thank you very much for that.
Welcome.
Getting to know you, I'm excited to get to know you. You're a fellow Texan. What part of Texas?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, the
That's
good
right.
part.
The only part in my book.
The Texan part of
The
Texas.
Texan part of Texas.
I
Yeah.
love that. I grew up in Houston,
Oh, okay.
which is the armpit part of Texas.
And me, Dallas, Fort Worth.
Oh,
Right?
Oh, yeah.
that's a nice cousin to Austin. You know what I mean?
Everyone thinks Dallas is better than Austin unless you've been to Austin, and then you know.
I love Austin.
Austin is nice.
Live music capital.
Absolutely.
All those bats.
Oh, the bats and the rolling hills
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
water and the people.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's where I'd go when Texas secedes. I'm moving to Austin.
Yeah.
Straight to Texas.
Well, I have a lot of questions, actually. I wanted to jump right in. So as we are looking at this amazing life, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
I started out in real estate when I was 27. Bought my first house when I was 27 years old. Oh, wow. And I used it as a house hack at first. And so house hacking means you buy a residence and you live in it, and you either have like a mother-in-law apartment or extra housing or extra rooms, those types of things in your house that you can rent out to help subsidize your mortgage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that led to another investment and then another, and here we are.
And here we are. But that's not the original story of how I got into investing, though.
Well, let me hear how you got into investing, because that is always an adventure.
So the investing part was my father has been in real estate and developing his entire life. And from that motivation, I kind of learned a little bit about the opportunities that could be there and the pitfalls. So there's always a risk and a gain with real estate, as anyone who's ever
Gambled.
Gambled, because it is a gamble, you know, and it's not just about knowing the market. It's about knowing who you're doing your dealings with. It's about knowing what your risk factors are. It's knowing about how to leverage other people's money to be able to assist you and them in your real estate investment goals, and really knowing what your why is. And there's lots of different ways to accomplish those things, and there's lots of experts and gurus out there. So really finding out who you can trust and who you vet for that information can empower you to really make the most of what your why is. And so my dad was the seed to that. But as I was going along in my career, healthcare was my thing. My parents said that I was born with a stethoscope in my mouth and in my arm, and I had a syringe, and I had this like nurturing aspect to who I was my whole life. And so it was just a thing for me. When they do those assessments in school to find out what your career is going to be, mine was a nurse, a neuropsychologist, a neurosurgeon, a humanitarian, or a archaeologist. And so that was my thing. And so it kind of fit into who I just was that way my whole entire life. And so it just became innate for me. And so I was in healthcare forever. But in healthcare, you don't make a ton of money, right?
Yes.
You do it because you love what you do. And so, and then I was always the breadwinner in my family as well, even though I was married. I was a single mom first, and then I got married later, and then had life experiences happen, and I knew that I needed to do something different. My first husband and I got divorced. He was battling with some depression and stuff his whole entire life, and we got divorced, and later he committed suicide and left my kids without a father. And so I got to put my boots up and pull through and realize that I get to create something different for my family, not only just for my children so that they have a legacy, but also for myself, so that all these years of being a wonderful mom and a sister and a friend and a healthcare provider and all these things, I get to do something different for myself, to where my children had an example of what power and passion and compassion and generational wealth could actually be. And so one of my friends, Craig Smith, my late dear friend and fellow motorcycle rider, he got me into real estate investing officially. And he said, Jen, you get to change your stars. And I said, really, how am I going to do that? And he said, you're going to do some investing with me. And I said, don't do the stock market. And he's like, no, we're going to do real estate. You already have a passion for it. You already have done it and succeeded in the past. Let's do something different. Let's do this together. So he came over and he introduced me to some real estate groups and to some different kinds of education, and got me into it. And I saw it, and I was like, okay. So I posted it on social media about a couple things, and a couple of my friends wanted to get into it, and got a couple of my friends into it, and they just took off.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Huh.
No kidding. And so through that gift that my dear friend Craig blessed me with, I've been able to move forward with that. And my dad does mortgages in Texas. And so he said, with your real estate investing, let's marriage that with mortgages, because you can create wealth for your patients, for the people that are underserved in the community that you have such passion for distressed homeowners, for people who are facing foreclosures, for your senior population who are going to have to go into an assisted living community and they don't have the money to do it. And it's all of a sudden, what are they going to do? You can create such a difference in people's lives by doing both of them. Let's get you started. And I was hesitant about it because I'm like, I'm not leaving healthcare. That's my thing. You know, I'm a chaplain and I'm in service. How in the heck can real estate and mortgages be in the service industry? And he said, come and sit with me for a day and we'll see. And so I sat with him. I went to Austin. After I moved back here to Utah, went to Austin and I sat with him and I listened to him talk to his clients. And I remember this one story that was so passionate and it just like ingrained in my brain. He was talking with a single mom, and her situation resonated with me because it was very similar, where she was about to lose her house, and how he sat with her and said, have you done this? What about this? Let me connect you with this. Okay, let's do this. And over the next couple of weeks, he was able to get her out of the situation that she was in and get her to be able to save her home that she'd been with her kids. And so they didn't have to move, and created this opportunity just by doing some creative mortgage stuff that nobody else had ever offered her. And I went, wow, okay, there you go. I'm going to do this. And so it really kind of blended well with what I love.
That's a really interesting point. And I think I'm probably stealing this directly from you here, and I know the back path, but it's not necessarily what you're doing. It's who you are.
Right.
You can help people in any facet of anything. And like you were saying with the real estate stuff, I know this one's coming from you, is that you're offering somebody a piece of their life. Mm-hmm. You know, like you were saying, and I'm going to butcher it, so step in and fix it, but when you sell a house and you own that house, that's a piece of you forever. You drive down that street, and that's a piece of you. Mm-hmm. And even getting to that point of getting a house, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And helping people, like I said, helping people comes in many, many different ways.
Absolutely. And so it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you're doing something for somebody. Like an accountant, thank God we have accountants, because heck no, I would be in jail for
At least something.
something in relation to doing my accounting wrong if I didn't have my accountant, right? And I could never be something else. That's just who I am. But thank heavens for them, because they're providing a service. So
absolutely.
I agree with that comment for sure. And so real estate and real estate investing is a service industry. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know that, Rob. You're an agent.
I am an agent, and
so's Kelly.
Yeah, we're heavy with agents around here.
Woohoo!
I think the best
Go team.
agents are the ones that have that mentality.
Yeah.
The ones that are going into it with that commission breath. You can spot them a mile away.
You can smell it coming, right?
Right.
So
And you know that they're not gonna last, because we're not the only ones that are picking up on that, and so nobody wants to be around that. And so the service heart is, I think, the core of a good person in our industry, or a good agent, or a good mortgage person.
I agree.
And I think here in Utah, kind of playing on that, I think here in Utah, that is very prevalent in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
Like, most of the real estate agents that I know, they are so service oriented, right?
Yeah.
Their goal is to serve and to make other people's lives better.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. And that's, I think that's why you're one of my real estate partners, is because I see that value that you have, and I've known you for years, and so I wanted to align not just with anybody just because they're making so many closings a month or whatever. I want them to have a good heart, so they align with who I am, and their mission and their values are who I am. Because if I'm going to have you work with some of my seniors, I don't want just somebody who's going to go in there and see a potential of money. I want them to come from heart.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
It's not what you do, it's who you are.
That's right.
I love that. Well, one of the things, and there's a lot, we're going to jump around tonight. I hope that's
Sure.
okay with
Yeah,
you. And
absolutely.
So, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, you said you ride a motorcycle.
I do.
What kind of bike do you have?
I have a 2007 Sportster Harley Davidson Custom.
Whoa.
Which I'm supposed to go over and get it right
1,200
again.
for the last month.
1,200.
Wow,
that's
Kelly,
a
get
lot
your
of bike.
shit
Well, she
together.
keeps asking me,
awesome.
come look at it, but I haven't been
Yeah,
over
because
there
she
yet.
hasn't, something's wrong with her. She won't start. I've replaced the battery. I've checked all the cords. I've done all the I looked at everything, and I don't know. That's where I'm grateful for people who can, because that's not my thing.
Man,
It'll be
amen.
something simple.
I can ride her great, but I can't fix her.
Yeah.
And her
same.
name is Phoenix, by the way.
Ooh.
Very cool.
Seems to be a theme going
It
on
is a
here.
theme.
Yeah.
It's a theme.
Let's talk about that theme. Why is that theme important to you?
So, like the mystical phoenix bird. Mm-hmm. They are beautiful, and they fly, and they do all these things, and then their life is over. They flame up into this burning glory, to this pile of ashes. And through those ashes, they start to emerge again. And they grow, and they blossom, and they bloom, and they come right out of those ashes into the most amazing, beautiful bird, even more spectacular than they were before. And a lot of people have said, Jen, that's your life. You have been like a phoenix rising, and that's what they call me, the phoenix rising, over and over again, and yet you still come up more beautiful and more powerful and more bright than you were before. And nothing seems to dim your light for long. It does, because I'm human, and I'm willing to admit that I've been suicidal before. I've battled with depression. I've battled with self-esteem and body issues. I've had a life, and so the phoenix to me is just like the most amazing representation of overcoming things in life, and that no matter what happens, you can always come back even better than before.
Would you say that that's like it's your motivation, how you get through stuff, almost to the point that you kind of bring it on? Go ahead.
Bring it on is one of my catchphrases that my kids will always say. Okay, bring it on. Here we go.
And we'll rise from this again.
That's right.
That's really cool. I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at your resume, some of the story that I've watched, I've read, I love that you've traveled to Turkey, Syria, Egypt, and Greece. All of these places are bucket list places for me to travel. Tell me, what was your big lesson in some of these journeys that you've done throughout your life? Like, there's always a consistent theme of what you're looking for.
Well, there's a little bit to go in as to why she went to those places.
Yeah, that's where we're headed.
And there's more than those places, too.
Yeah?
I've been to over 26 countries.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, so I love to hear more about what your question's going to be.
Well, so my question is, as I'm looking at the reason for your travel, there's a humanitarian theme that runs through these journeys, and so I was my goal in this is like, what is the lesson, the commonality that you're taking away from these travels in this humanitarian effort?
Sure. So since I was a young kid, I was a dancer. We lived in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, actually, when I was a little kid. Yep, and we owned a place called Togety Lodge. And we ran that for years and years, and it had a bar and all that kind of stuff. And so I was just little, so I'd go around and get up on the stage, and I would dance for all the drunks in the bar, and I'd go around and drink all the beer and smoke the cigarettes, and I was only like 2 or 3 years old.
Oh, boy.
So I started out dancing when I was just a little kid, and it just was that way since I was little, and I grew up, and through high school and college, I got dance scholarships and was able to win some awards and things, and was able to travel around the world doing performances. We got to go to the Lord Mayor's Ball in Dublin and perform there, and perform for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We got to go to the Hula Bowl. We got to go to the Macy's Day Parade, little things like that. So that was my first taste of travel when I was 16 years old, and I was over there, and I got to see some amazing things and beauties and just all the cool stuff you get to see as a tourist, right? But then I also got to see some of life, and we got to see some of the poverty. We got to see some of the discrimination. And back then there was the religious party issues, because in Ireland, there's a lot of that going on back there. Yep. And so we got to see a lot of that as well. And I thought, what? Because I grew up in this little teeny world over here where we didn't watch TV much, and we were in a very LDS family, and so things were always good, and we didn't know much and sheltered. And then that was my first experience of, there's a life out there different than what we have. And it turned something on in me that never could be squelched. And so when I moved out of the house when I was 17 and moved back, when I went to school, I wanted to do healthcare administration, nursing, and international political science with a focus on public health, because I wanted to go overseas, use my healthcare degree, use my nursing degree, and use my political science and with public health to be able to change things. So while I was going to school, I signed up to join the Peace Corps.
Oh.
6 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant.
Oh, jeez.
Life happens.
Life happens. Ring! And so that disqualified me from doing that, obviously, but it didn't take my passion away. And so I continued with schooling. I became a single parent, and so I took my daughter with me to school. She went to Weber State University with me, went to college, sat right there. She had her little book, and my daughter Ariel is the most amazing kid you've ever, she's a mom and whatever. But she was just young, and so my parents watched her while I was invited to go on this humanitarian trip. And we went to Turkey first, and we got to study abroad as well with the Turkish American Society. And this is a little funny story while we were there. We were there for 2 weeks, and we were immersed in learning Turkish and all about culture and all those things. And we went to a World Cup football match.
Ooh.
And it was Turkey against England.
Oh, jeez.
Holy honk. Holy honk. That was an experience inside of itself, right? So World football matches, and it was a World Cup, by the way, or preliminaries or something like that. And so we were like, do we sit on the Turkish side or do we sit on the English side? Because we look more English, but we're here serving the Turks. What do we do? So we sat right on the border of both of them. And when you walk in to the game, they check everything. They take everything that could be used as what they call a missile.
Oh, throwing stuff.
Throwing stuff.
Gotcha.
So everything you could think of that would be used as a missile, they took away. And I'm totally off topic. I apologize.
No,
but this
you're fine.
gets me to where I'm going still. And so we sat, and there was their military sitting right next to us. Like, we had military with their AK-50, whatever they're called, AK-47s, right? All in their riot gear, sitting right next to us. And we're British here and Turks on the other side.
Oh, jeez.
So it's not, if memory serves, the game was probably not even maybe 15 minutes into it, and all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. And we see like things flying ahead, and we're like ducking. And my group, I was the only medical person in this whole group. The other ones were like archaeologists and things like that. And they're all ducking and all this stuff. And then the military is like, okay, everybody, and you can hear them over the speakers saying, you know, we have to call a break on the game until everyone calms the hell down and all this stuff. And people start rioting and freaking the heck out. And people start leaving the stadium, and I see blood. Ding, 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 ding. You know, the firefighter in me, the medic in me comes out. And I'm like, where's the blood? Where's the blood? So I follow this trail, and I see this guy sitting on the stands with his head down and his hands covered over his eye. And I'm like, oh. And he has a British flag wrapped around him. So I go over and I say, hey, I'm American. Can I help you? He's like, and he lifts his head up, and he's just got blood gushing. And I'm like, I'm a medic. I'm going to nursing school. What can I do to help you? And his friends are like, something bad happened. So I said, let me see. And he put his hand down, and eyeball.
Oh, no.
Hanging on his cheek. So I'm like, okay, we got to get a cup and some tape. And so I kind of had to jerry-rig everything. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I just found a solo cup kind of a thing, put it over his eye, and got some, tore off some of his shirt and made a little cover for his eye, right, to keep his eye in. And we started walking out of the stadium. And I says, we need to go down to the team's quarters so that we can get you taken care of and get you to the hospital. So as we're down walking, and the stadium's up here with seating, and we're walking down behind, going over to the team's area, and people were throwing stuff down at him, and I'm like, we need to take your flag off and hide that, because you're a target for the Turks to be throwing things at you. So we did, but not before we got all these cameras and press coming up to us, taking pictures of us, you know, and all these things. Crazy. I was like, what the heck is going on? This is silly. Go into the what do you call them?
Locker room?
The locker room. Thank you. Got to their team, doctors and everything, and they're like, yeah, we get to get him to the hospital. So I rode with him into the ambulance. We went over there. They got him all taken care of and all of that stuff. And in the meantime, when I was waiting in the waiting room over at the hospital, the Turkish British ambassador came over and found me and said, thank you so much. We appreciate all the things that you did. What are you here for? And I told him, we're here for humanitarian and, you know, work abroad stuff. And he's like, well, I would like to invite you to our gala, and I would love you to be their ambassador for this event to help, you know, bring about some change and things. Because the Persian Gulf War was going on at this time, and everyone thought that I was crazy. I'm normally a fiery redhead. Until I got gray hair. So
sense.
does that help you?
That makes a lot more sense.
Okay, so the ginger in me was like, sure, bring it on.
I got you.
Yeah. And while everyone else is running away, the firefighter medic in me runs towards it, right? So So that's where I kind of started doing the humanitarian work. It was my thing. And I realized about myself that I run towards what other people fear. And I'm not afraid. And I react very well to trauma and crises, and working in the emergency room and on an ambulance, and it's not scary to me. So if I can do that in these war-torn areas where people are afraid or they have a bad sense of who Americans are, if I can change that in some small way, bring it on. Yeah.
I like that.
So, and we're so blessed here in America. We are absolutely blessed with so much. We have our problems, absolutely, but we are also very blessed. And people who have not had the opportunity to travel overseas and experience life, don't go stay in the 5-star hotel. Go and live with the people. Don't go to where everyone else goes. Go and see the sights.
I genuinely believe that would solve a lot of problems in this country, is if people had to go to different places and see how everybody else is getting it done. Because we are very blessed here, especially here in Salt Lake. This has to be one of the best in the entire world.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. They should call the whole state Happy Valley, not just Salt Lake, you know?
Yeah.
Because, seriously, it's a wonderful place to live. And
we are 20 minutes from the best mountains, seriously, in the world. Yeah.
Don't tell it too loud.
You're
we
right.
don't want everyone to keep coming here.
We need the Californians to stop.
Utah sucks. Don't move here.
Stay home.
That's your public service announcement from Alec.
So, I know you traveled a little bit with Shiro's, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Okay.
Wait, what's Shiro's?
Shiro's United.
Okay.
So Shiro's United was founded so that we could assist women and children and those underserved around the globe and in our backyards. So it's a female organization ran by females, and it's not just we don't help women. We help our men who support us. And so we have a Shiro's United men's version as well. And we have 4 different areas that we initially started to focus on. One was abolishing human trafficking. The second one was to stop and prevent and provide resources to domestic violence. We wanted to work with military and their families and provide mental health as well to all of those served. And so we knew that change needed to happen. So we worked with our government here. We worked with Keith Spires, and we developed lots of education and materials as well as awareness about those different issues. And it's a ground roots movement to create that empowerment and awareness, not just for the people that may have been a victim or even a survivor, which I like to call, of that, but to people who don't even know that it exists. And look now, human trafficking has become one of the greatest advocacies prevention groups out there, with Operation Underground Railroad, plus all of the other splinters. I was a CEO of a human trafficking prevention company for years, and I really loved that. And veterans are one of the things that I'm very passionate about. My brother is a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and he's actually stationed in London right now.
Ooh.
And if I told you what he does, I'd have to kill you.
Well, naturally.
So, but because I actually don't know either, but
sounds like a cop-out, I think.
I just know that I love my brother very much, and I have a long history of family who served in the military. My father was a sniper as well, and so.
So can you shoot a gun?
Very well, thank you very much.
Okay.
And I own
She
them.
doesn't know what an AK-57
Well,
is.
No, AK.
That's okay.
I just didn't know what they had.
We'll just focus on the American guns. That's
Yeah.
all right.
The AK-57.
I don't know what what they carried. I know what I carry. See, now you
It's
just
okay,
got me
I don't
off
know what an
topic.
AK-57 is.
Okay.
They're rare. They're super rare
I've never
guns.
even seen one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen one either.
Hard to get ammo for.
Except in Turkey. Turkey military has
Turkey
those.
military.
That's what it was.
That's right. Yep.
Turkish military.
Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So through Shiro's United, one of my dearest friends, Celeste Gleave and Bridget Cook Birch, we aligned ourselves with some very powerful and important people. And we decided that not only are we helping people here in the United States, but we needed to help around the world. So who better to help us with that than the Pope?
Shut up.
I mean,
Shut up.
You're gonna pick somebody.
I think we picked somebody.
Yeah.
So we got an audience to be able to go over to the Vatican, and I can't remember which festival it was, but it's one of their most holy festivals, where there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people in this square at the Vatican. And we got to be able to talk to him about the veteran issues, human trafficking, domestic violence, and put our agenda out to him and let him know how important these issues are and that he has the power to make change. That us, this little group outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, we can only do so much, and we're powerful. But it really takes an army that he can provide through his connections and his prayer, and he's just an amazing guy. And so while we were there, we got to go back a couple of times, and we also were very passionate about the Congolese people. And while we were there, we got to have private tours. We got to go down into the catacombs and go into private things, and just so amazing experiences while we were there. That
Wait, I have to ask him. Was it John Paul?
No,
Who was it?
friend. See, now you're gonna ask me, and my brain's tired. The one that's there now. What's his name? Gosh darn. Please.
Now I don't know.
And cut it out.
Okay, we'll cut this out. Sorry,
Okay.
I just had to ask that. Sorry.
The Pope.
John, Paul, Ringo.
No.
And
I'll tell you later.
It was Pope Francis and then Pope Benedict, right?
It's Benedict. Thank you.
Benedict. Okay.
Yeah, it's Benedict.
Wow,
Yeah.
good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. So he's a cool guy. And so we wanted to, yes?
I'm listening.
Okay. So we wanted to be able to help. And we know that some of the atrocities that are going on in the world, Congo has one of the greatest ones ever.
Yes.
And we met some people that were running for office for the Congolese party. And so they're like, we said, come with us to the Vatican, and let's also meet your people and some of the dignitaries there, in addition to who we're going to be meeting, and let's make some change. And so that gave us also some power with the Pope to be able to get some things going. So while I was there, I know what Kelly's getting at, while I was there, we were about ready to be interviewed on TV. And as the diplomatic liaison and spiritual advisor for Sheroes United, I went out to pray, and we're on the Vatican. For heck's sakes, who doesn't go and pray and meditate on Vatican grounds, right? So I did. Give it an attempt, right? So I went, and the Vatican, as you know, is old. Rome is old. There's ancient things everywhere. And in Rome, their man covers are not round like ours. They are square. And so on the Vatican grounds, there's trees and all these things everywhere, and the lights are beautiful, and the leaves were falling because we went in the fall. And as I was walking, all of a sudden, whoosh, I fall into this manhole.
Oh, jeez.
And I catch myself, and I'm hanging on this manhole. And I look down, and there are the ruins of Rome with water running down them. And the fear of God came in me, and the strength of God pulled myself out. I sit on the side of this manhole looking down, and I feel immediate pain. So the manhole cover was not set straight, so it was off angle. So when I was walking, I couldn't see that there was a manhole cover there. And when I fell, one of the rims of the manhole cover went up and sliced my leg and hit my pelvis.
Oh, no.
So I got to have a trip to the hospital. And at the time, I thought, what in the heck is going on? Who gets hurt on Vatican grounds right before you go on to have interviews and be on TV and all these things with your group than me? So what am I going to learn from this? Well, the greatest thing was I got to see how their healthcare system works. I got to see how amazing the Pope and the cardinals and the archbishops were. They came to see me in the hospital. They paid for everything for me.
Oh, my goodness.
And as they came to see me, they offered help. Of course, what can they do for me? And I said, you can pray for me. And so I got to have them pray for me right there.
Oh my goodness.
And as they finished, I said, thank you. And I says, what can I do for you? And they said, you can pray for us. And I said, I pray for you guys every day. And they said, no, right now. So I did. And it was one of those times when I can genuinely say, and I've had many of these times from being a chaplain, where I felt that the words were not my words, that the words that I was saying were inspired. And I get spirit bumps. Spirit bumps just thinking about it, and just humbled by the mere fact that in the most beautiful and iconic spiritual place for so many, not just Catholics.
And holy.
And very holy and historic, right? That I got to have this experience. So from that experience, it just empowered us even more that there were some great things to happen and great things to come. So I had a fractured pelvis, and I got my bruise on the back of my thigh went from my knee up to my tush.
Oh my goodness.
And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was like, I'm getting a blood clot. I can tell something's bad, and I couldn't walk. It was horrible. But after my prayer from them, I felt a little bit better, because we still had all the walking to do. We still had the tours to do. We still had all these people to meet and all this stuff. I couldn't be this gimp that missed everything, right? And be handicapped by that. So I took it easy for a little bit, and they said, you'll be okay, but here's some treatments. Here's what we're going to do, yada, yada. When you go home, take care of things, and put me on some blood thinners. Well, I came home, and I had a stroke from the blood clot from riding on the airplane. Fell down the stairs at work at the hospital.
How old are you when this happened?
It was 2016.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn to talk, drive, eat, cook, think, manage life in general. And so that's where I knew that blessing came in, that gave me that strength to be able to come through that.
And that's when I met you.
And that's when you met me, was during that time. Yep. So I couldn't ride my bike anymore. I also fractured my neck, so I had to have...
Same incident?
Uh-huh. So I had to have my discectomy, fusion, and plating of C4, 5, 6, and almost 7. I probably am going to have to go back in now. But anyway, so I couldn't ride my bike through that long time, so I got to ride with Kelly, which was awesome. And everyone in our motorcycle community stepped up, and when they heard that I was recuperating now and could ride a bike again, they were all like, no, you're not yet. You're going to ride behind me. And I was like, okay. But then when I can ride, you're riding bitch behind me. And, and they did.
That's awesome.
So that also is showing that no matter what happens in life, it's all about what you make it, and you move forward. And one thing that I do get to share is that all of my life experiences, which you don't even know about it, a lot of them yet, every single one of them has been a growing experience. And thank heavens that I had family and support and faith and a community and good coping skills, because there's people that have showed up in my life who don't have that, who don't have a support group, who don't have friends, who don't have faith, who don't have coping skills and an innate whatever God gave me to be able to overcome these things. So people would come into my life, and I would be there for them, and I could actually truly empathize with them, not just speak the words, but actually be present, and hopefully have some positive impact so that they can say, okay, Jen, you did this, I can do it too, and move forward. And that's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty awesome.
Well, look.
So how many members are in Shiro right now?
I don't even know how many They have. I don't. We kind of took a break for a little bit during the pandemic, and so I don't really know how many that is anymore. I don't. But it's a lot. We.
It's a lot more than when you were in it, right? When you started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot.
So it's
more.
grown considerably.
Yeah, and it's just continued on in different avenues, too. So
I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to come from left field here.
Go ahead.
Where do you find? So you have a toolkit of all these different experiences and everything that goes on, and you have different methods of your coping mechanisms and everything that goes into this. Are you a reader, or is this something that you're just perpetually open to? What's your method for that?
So I love to learn. I love to read. I love listening to podcasts.
Right,
Yours included. I love just experiencing life. And so when I experience something, I can either move forward, learn from it in a positive way that's healthy, or I can learn from it in a negative way, or from somebody who may not give me the best advice, right? And so I also went through in 2008 through impact trainings. And I had just come out of a really sad divorce, and I became a facilitator of that. But through going through those different stages and the different levels that they have, man, you go to the deepest core of your deepest ugly. And you have to take a look at yourself for all of the masks that we wear, all of the stories that we tell, all the narratives that we created to overcome or to make ourselves look better or to fall into some kind of something. There's ways to deal with things in a healthy way. But how can I heal in a healthy way if I don't know how? Mm-hmm. So by reading and having faith and God and a prayer and family who's so supportive, and my kids were my life. If I didn't have my kids, I probably wouldn't be here, quite frankly. And so through things like impact trainings, which was phenomenal, and they call them angels when they get you and introduce you into impact. And my angel she was one of the case managers that I worked with in healthcare when I was in home health and hospice all these years ago. And she introduced me to it, and I was hesitant forever to go. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't need it. Nope, I'm not ready for that. And there was always an excuse until my kids said, Mom, you need some help. Life has hit you so hard for so long. You are no longer light. And I was like, okay. And Andrea, God bless her heart, I love you, and she didn't tell me anything about it. She just said, you get to go, and you get to take off a whole week of school of work, and everything that you have, everything you need to find someone to take care of your kids, whatever it takes, you're going. I was like, okay. So I show up, and bam, because I'm an open person, like you had maybe mentioned. Mm-hmm. I'm open to it, and I trust. But during that, it was not easy for me to trust the process. It was not easy for me to take a look at all of these things again, but in a different way. But the first week when we got out of there, I came home, and even my ex-husband noticed a difference in me. My kids noticed a difference in me. My employer noticed a difference in me on the second day when I went back to work that next Tuesday. And it was just the first session of the training. There's like multiples. And so through that, I was able to gain some insight and some tools. In addition to what I'd already gained over years, I worked, when I worked for Intermountain Healthcare, I worked in their psych ward. And I was helping facilitate group sessions, and I learned a lot there. And I also went to counseling from the time I was in college until I was 2008, on and off, when I went to Impact. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
you're more of a hands-on, but you've gathered, it's something I'm really working on right now. Life seems to be coming at me left and right, and it's about the tool chest. It's about the war chest of what you have to throw at it, right? Yeah. And getting all these, that's why I value these guys so much. I Alec even. I learn from everybody that comes around. I'm also trying to pick up on the reading thing. So I'm always curious, is like, where are you getting it from, you know?
Well, and I'm
That's
dyslexic,
really cool.
so reading is a challenge for me. And then now that I'm 54, I get to use readers. And so it's not fun for me anymore. So I do everything on audiobook or watching it on TV or doing immersion.
Game changers.
Absolutely. And so I became a life coach through all my experiences by getting certifications and going and having classes and learning from the experts and having one-on-one mentors. But it wasn't just to be a life coach for other people. I wanted to be my own and for my kids and people that were close to me and my patients. And so I left actually being in an administrative role and in sales role in healthcare to be a clinical chaplain. And because people had said, Jen, you have this way with people. They would call me when there was a patient breaking down and having problems or there was an angry family to diffuse the situation, just to listen, just to be, just to validate. And they said, Jen, you should be a social worker or a psychologist. I was like, yeah, no, no. And then I had an experience where my late father-in-law was on hospice and they had a female chaplain. And I went, oh my gosh, I can do that. That is who I can do that. And then the spirit bumps happened. And then I haven't looked back since, and it's a calling. So being a clinical chaplain and working in hospitals and trauma centers, and you even have the opportunities to work for the FBI and police officers and corporate offices, that's a calling. But doing real estate and investing in mortgages, that's my career.
Sure.
And
you need both.
And you need both. So there's got to be a balance.
I like that. Powerful things. Well, in your becoming a chaplain, I was in law enforcement for a while, and I had a chaplain that was very instrumental in my life, like life-changing. You have a lot of opportunities to be an influence for good, and with your clinical, your learning and growing and all the coaching that you did with these different programs, were you able to? I mean, is there a time when you felt like you were really stepping into it? Like this is my flow, this is my thing. Like, is there a time when that happened?
Yeah, I would say during Impact, we would go through all of the stages, and then we did life mastery and things like that. And you do these ropes courses and really big immersions. And I wasn't even completed with some of my trainings, and they asked me to be a facilitator. And I was like, I felt in myself, I'm not worthy of this. I don't have all the tools. I'm not done with my learning. Why are they asking me to do this? And I asked, and they gave me the answer that I needed to hear. And so that put me on my course of that introspection, self-empowerment, paying it forward, being a force of change and light for others so that they could see that in themselves, because people far too often lose that light in themselves. And it takes just one person, like even just riding in the elevator and you saying hi and looking them right in the face and being genuine about it. Hi, oh my gosh, you have the most beautiful eyes. You actually have great eyes.
Well,
I'm telling you, your eyelashes are phenomenal.
Thanks.
Right?
I work very hard.
They're
Women would pay
expensive.
for them.
You're not wrong.
But just a genuine compliment. Or you're walking down the street, instead of looking down like this, look up and just make eye contact with people. You'll be amazed at what it throws them off at first, but they really appreciate the just, hi, how are you? And you really mean it. And so if you can make a difference in someone's life, just that small little thing, how cool is that? And so that kind of put me on that journey. And I left the LDS church when I was 19 years old, when I got pregnant with my daughter out of wedlock. I was a leader at LDSSA when I got pregnant because I was fornicating.
Oh no.
I know.
You
Is that how that works?
Hellraiser, you.
It's been scientifically proven that that's how it works.
I didn't know that. I was told that you get
awesome.
pregnant by French kissing, actually.
Well,
Petting.
Petting?
Yeah.
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 It's a slippery slope, friends.
Yep.
That damn fornication.
Unbelievable.
Fornication. Gosh dang it. So,
It'll get you every time.
Consortium.
gosh darn. And so I was asked to step down from that, because how would it look? Of course, obviously, I got it. I was on the LDSSA folk dance team and the ballroom team and all those things, and I had to stop at that time too. But I loved it, and so I left the church when I was 19, and they offered me the opportunity, the church did, to have my name removed from the records of the church, or to be excommunicated, because I did not have remorse for having a child out of wedlock.
Oh, no.
Because I didn't. Because when I was 17 years old, I had an ovarian tumor the size of a softball. And I had to have it removed. And
What?
And in surgery, before they wheeled me into surgery, I said, you will do every single thing possible to save my ovaries, because I am meant to be a mom. I am going to have children, and you are not taking that from me. And my mom, and I can remember my mom and dad's face, and they're like, do what she says. And they're like, but what if her life's in danger? Because they didn't know what it was. They didn't know if it was cancerous or whatever. Because it grew from the size of like nothing to overnight, very, very, very quickly, and it was awful. And I said, no, I'm supposed to have a kid. And so they took one of my ovaries and part of my other one. And so it was like very difficult for me to have children, or all those years of not using birth control. I got a kid all of a sudden,
What are
right?
the odds?
Yeah, God
Right?
has his own
So
plans.
there's a plan, right? And so I had a child out of wedlock, and I chose to have my name removed from the records of the church. And I wrote letters many, 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 many times to have that done, and it never happened. And I'm okay. It's okay. It's fine with me. A lot of my family still are very, very LDS and served LDS missions, and I love them, and they do great work, and they believe in it. And my parents still believe that I'm going to make a great Relief Society president one day. But for me, I am spiritual. I'm not religious. Mm-hmm. I love so much, genuinely, and I have such a intimate relationship with my own higher power, God, the universe, whatever people want to call it, that I'm good. And I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of what's going to happen when I die. I'm not afraid of where I'm going to go or who I'm going to see, or if I'm going to have this come to Jesus talk that's going to be awful.
What's going to happen?
He's going to sit down and say, you know what, Jen? I love you. You're so cool. You're like this badass bitch, motorcycle rider who did the best that you did with what you had, and you seriously took care of my brothers and sisters.
I think that's a very powerful point. Seriously, the definition of God, is pure unconditional love.
Amen.
That is the actual definition.
Love the least of these, he said.
Uh-huh.
Well, you can't have that and have hellfire and damnation in the same sentence. The two are oxymorons. They can't coexist.
No.
And I think that religion and different things, they've made this a hell of a lot more complicated than it actually needs to be.
Right.
It's very simple.
Or that he intended it to be.
And I think that it's a live working thing.
Absolutely.
God gave us 10 rules. That seemed to be too many. Jesus came down and said, listen, it's just one. Just
Love.
follow the one. Just
Be loved.
loved. That's it. It is very, very simple. And I don't think he can't be a judging God and a hellfire and damnation. They can't be together. No. Right? So I'm with you. I think that God's going to sit down with everybody and say, you did it. You made it. You're going to be okay.
And Heavenly Mother is going to be sitting right there next to him, because if we're created in God's image, I'm a woman. There's got to be a mom. I'm an amazing mom. I have an amazing mom, and I have an amazing father. So why wouldn't it be that there's both of us?
Has to be.
And we're just silent. We're just more quiet because Heavenly Father and God has so much respect and love for us as women that he doesn't want her slandered as much as he is.
100%. He's the man of men.
He's the man of men.
And he's protecting. That has to be the answer to that.
That's what I think. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to ask. I just wanted to know what your answer was. That's a great answer. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You have so many experiences, so many amazing stories. I want to ask, and this is, we're hanging a left here, but I want to talk a little bit about your becoming a firefighter, the first firefighter in the city. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
First woman firefighter.
Woman firefighter.
So I had always loved adventure, and like I told you before, running in while others were running out doesn't scare me. And so how was I going to put myself through school? Yeah, firefighting. EMT, all the way, baby. And so I decided that was going to be a really great thing for me because it was flexible with the schedule.
Sure.
I got to take care of people. I got to do danger. I got to hang around really sexy men.
And we got the real reason.
That's a perk.
Those firefighters.
Oh man,
Women,
men in uniform, because my first daughter, Ariel's dad's a police officer. That's how we met, was going to EMT school together in Ogden. And and it was just a thing. I loved it so much. And it was easy. Nursing school, because of all the chemistry and the biology and the math, hated that. But when you actually get me live and I get to like do IVs and do IOs and, you know, all those really cool stuff and work under pressure and not freak out and be calm and level-headed and bring that to your department, that was a thing for me. And I was okay if it was dangerous, because someone's got to do it. Mm-hmm. And if I can save a child's life and run into a burning building and save my partner's life, or I can help my fellow police officers who secure the scene before we go in, thank you for that, then I didn't even think about it. It's like second nature. It's like riding a bike is just a thing. Like in Turkey, I didn't even think about it. It was like bloodhound in me just goes right to it. It's a thing, you know? And so I did that while I was here. And then when I became pregnant, I had to go back to Austin, Texas. And I was on the department out in Longview, Texas. And I loved it out there. And I was the second only female on the department out there in a very male-run department. Utah is much more women-friendly than the Texas back then was, but that was in 1989.
Still Texas.
Still Texas.
It's still the same. But so when I moved back here, I wasn't on the department anymore because I'd got my career and my degree and things like that. But we moved to Eagle Mountain. And that's where they asked me to be on the planning commission and things like that. And back then there was no fire department, nothing. It was the middle of nowhere with no EMS. So we didn't have fire trucks. We had EMS.
Part of county, right?
Pardon me?
Part of county. You were part of Utah County?
Nope.
Oh, really?
Eagle Mountain Fire and Rescue is what we were called. We were all volunteer.
Oh, wow.
And we had the rigs at our house, and we would respond from our home as volunteers because we didn't have stations and those things. I lived in the ranches, and they were building the station out in town center. And so us on the department in the ranches had the rigs at our home, and then everyone in the town center, we'd have the station. And so
So you would drive the rig to the location, and then people would meet just like a PTA meeting. They'd show up at the emergency, like, okay.
Yeah.
And we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. And back in the day, when the population wasn't very many, we didn't get very many calls. We would call sheriffs in to handle any scene safety, things like that. But we would handle all of the EMS calls. And then we would call the surrounding departments like Lehigh to handle the fire calls because we didn't have fire stations. So we handled all the EMS and all of that. And while we were still doing our trainings and get our wild cards and getting our certifications up, all those things, it was really awesome. So I got to meet a lot of the great people out at the Lehigh Fire Department where we held all of our classes. And it was awesome. And then Cedar Fort's Fire Department was with us, and we did joint trainings together. And then Saratoga Springs came on, and they had their station, and then that's just all booming now. And can you imagine? It's just grown so much.
Oh yeah.
And
in the past just
I
like
loved
2
it.
years, it's bananas what's going on out there.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. So my partner and I, back then, and some of the guys on the crew are still my friends, and their wives were the ones who had a problem with females in the past. Because we would have to be around their men all the time. And then you have this personality like me, who's outgoing and friendly and all bubbly and all that stuff. They're like, ooh, who is that girl around our husbands?
How dare you?
Right, kind of a thing. But then once they got to know me and they're like, oh, she's just one of the guys. Oh my gosh, she's so cool. Now they're my best friends, and I'm, hang around them all the time. We do things together, and it's just fun. So, but being a woman is hard on a department at first, especially doing the fit testings, and they have all the competitions that we do, and we're never going to be. Because there are some women that are like men, but I just don't have that kind of strength. But you get my legs going, I can beat you in anything because my legs are powerhouses. My upper body's not so much, right? Awesome. But
Story of
it
my
was
life.
awesome. I loved it. I would recommend it to anybody because there are some really amazing people, and the people out in Eagle Mountains Fire Department will always be my family and my brothers, and I love them.
That's fantastic.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
When you were part of the family, it really is something that is, it's almost hard to describe when you're a part of that group, because you would do anything for those folks. If you transitioned out of the firefighting family, what would take you away from that kind of a culture? Because that's magnetic. Once you're in, you're really in. Hard to get there, but great to stay. What got you out of that?
Health. I had an injury, as well as a health issue that happened. I was in an abusive marriage, and the guys on the department would come to my rescue anytime, right? And I finally was able to leave that relationship. And I can remember the last time an incident would happen, my oldest daughter said to me, "Mom, if you don't leave, I'll be so disappointed in you." And my partner's wife, Lisa Holland, who I love so much, John Holland and their family are like my family still to this day, and Slim, David Horlocker, they also said, "Jen, what can we do to get you out? Because you are more powerful than this. We know you differently. You are like this
caged animal."
Yeah, this shrivel of yourself when you're around him. What can we do? Beat down. So much so that they wanted me to run for city council out there and things like that, but he wouldn't allow me to do it. He wanted me to leave the department because he was jealous of the same thing that the females were at first,
Firemen.
right?
What are you going to do?
Firemen, those dang men in uniforms, My daughter's dad is a police officer, and firefighters, I love them. They're just great. And so health issues and an injury from that caused me to not be able to continue with that at that time. And another issue was that I was a single parent now, and if I were to be killed or permanently injured on the department, there would be nobody there to take care of my young kids, and they were young. And I, at that point, was like, I'm not going to be dating. Hell to the no. So it's just going to be me, and I get to be there for my kids. And so that's the only reason that I left.
How many kids do you have?
I have three amazing kids. 32-year-old daughter, Ariel. She's a massage therapist, an amazing mom. I have a 26-year-old daughter, Michaela, who is going to school for sign language interpretation. She's wanted to do that for her entire life. And come to find out, just about a month and a half ago, she lost her hearing in her left ear, now wears a hearing aid, and is now going to be part of the hearing community because of that. And what a small world that is that God has this plan for. Amazing, right? And then my son is 22, and he works for Tesla, and he just got his schooling done at the University of Utah for cybersecurity.
Oh, wow.
And I have 4 grandkids, ages 13, 11, 5, and 2.5.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're so cool. I love
That's
them.
cool.
They're great.
What an amazing family.
Thank you.
So here we are now. We've talked to you about kind of the progression of your life from this, your young years working or seeing your dad as a developer, and then your travels abroad and these different relationships back and forth. And you really are very gentle at talking about, or just barely touching upon, these tragedies that happen in your life, the suicide and the divorce and the abuse and these different things. And one of the things that I noticed on your paperwork, it talked about this powerful reminder that we can rise from the ashes and our darkest moments and soar to new heights, just like the phoenix, and just like the name of your motorcycle is this theme that we've talked about. Is this inherent in your family? Are the Wrights this buoyant, or is this something that just kind of fell upon you genetically? Because I've bumped into families where it's like, man, all of these people seem like, you can't bring them down. They're all, and then there's families where there's just one, and where do you fall into that?
So I'm the eldest of a large family, and I would say that predominantly we are achievers. We overcome. We are very positive. We're loving. We are service-oriented. My brother, Justin, he's lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. He also started out in the Air Force as a firefighter from me, and moved on to becoming a physician's assistant. And he had some troubles in life and things like that. Nothing like mine, but he overcame some things as well. And my brother Jared, he had a lot of things happen to him in his life. Being raised in Austin, Texas, he was a member of a gang. Oh, geez. He was initiations. He has a scar on the side of his arm here from one of the initiations that they do, where they get a cigarette lighter, red hot burning flame, and burn it down into your muscle. Oof. So he has scars from that. He has other scars from that, where he turned to, some drugs and things. But he's overcome that now, and he is a successful owner and manager of a golf cart company, where they actually up them, like
Pimp My Ride.
Pimp your ride. Pimp your ride for that. Yeah. And he was also an inspector, a real estate inspector. So he's a phenomenal man who overcame so many things, and he's been married forever and loves his family.
So when you're looking at this and you see your brothers and sisters being the oldest, I'm the oldest. It's a burden to kind of
huge burden
to shine the way, or the right way or the wrong way, whichever way we're shining it.
Sure.
How did you? I guess the question is it mom or is it dad? Is it who was the person that was the light that was like, okay, we can overcome these things? Because one of I think the biggest mental illnesses or lies that we tell ourselves is that I cannot cope.
Yeah.
And you have this amazing coping mechanism. Like it's going to happen, and I think it's very impressive, because I think a lot of us could learn. So that's what I'm asking is where'd the coping come from?
So in our whole house, we never we never saw bad stuff, right? As far as in our family, because it was always, you just don't talk about it, for one thing. And if it did happen, it was always on the down low, far away from the kids. And so when I was 12 years old, stuff had happened to me before, and I never shared it with anybody. Another story. But I would see my dad being the most hardworking person, and he's the smartest person that I know. He's the greatest entrepreneur. He can just do anything. He was so successful, and even when things would go bad, he would just go, okay, shift, move, shift, move. And I learned that from him. And I also learned it from my grandparents on both of my parents' side. My grandma was a nurse. That's where I got my inspiration from to get into healthcare, I think. And my grandpa was just this brilliant entrepreneur as well. And all of my dad's brothers and all of his family were. And they were just very wealthy people. And they would shift, move, shift, move. And they had family to support. And then my mom's parents, my grandpa was a pharmacist and was one of the top salesmen in all of the country for Park Davis, I think, or Johnson & Johnson. I can't remember which one. And then he worked at Weber State University as a pharmacist up there when he retired. And my grandma was always busy doing things, and no matter what life happened, and there was some major life that happened in their family, shift, move. And we got to see from outside when there was a life incident that wasn't really great. Well, at least I did, because I was the oldest, where there was some bad stuff that happened and the negative effect of not dealing with it right. And I didn't want that to happen to myself, and I didn't want it to happen to others. And so what could I do differently to create a life for me that wasn't going to be like that? And so my family definitely is. My dad is more of the entrepreneur, more the ones that you just move and go, especially from being in an LDS family. They're the breadwinners. They're the ones that go. The moms stay at home with the kids and, take care of the family. And so I learned a lot of that from my dad. I didn't learn a lot of the other life lessons until I was older from all of my family, because it wasn't a thing that you just didn't know about when you were younger. But when I became a parent myself, and my daughter, Ariel, my oldest daughter, almost died. She was born 6 weeks early and was in ICU for 6 weeks. I learned that my family had other things going on with them. And so I got to see that, okay, they moved through all these life experiences and protected us, and we never knew about it. What strength they had, what fortitude, and what love they had for us to not have to put us through some of those things as children, so that we got to just be kids, sort of, And they had to deal with that on their own, and it inevitably caused my parents to divorce, and because they grew apart and things like that. And they're happily married now, and things are great in their life, but at the time, I didn't know that there was problems. And so as I got older, then I could look back and go, oh, there you go. Oh, that's why mom was doing this, or why mom was crying, or why this was happening, or why you had so much put on yourself, Jennifer. And that's why I have 3 kids instead of 20 million, is because I was already the parent and helped raise all my brothers and sisters of so many. But I think it's partly just genetic in our family, but also because we also had so many life experiences ourselves, we didn't have a choice but to rise. And I think that one thing I can say about the LDS Church and our family was that that core of family was very important, and so we relied on each other, and we relied on faith and prayer and unity, and the community and things like that were very, very beneficial to my family growing up, and that was a benefit. And then when we moved back to Texas, that was even more so, because there's not very many members of the LDS Church. And so your eyes can be open to a lot of different things, and so not be so sheltered. So that also makes you open up yourself to more learning and experiences, and bring, it just happens. And for me, I was like, holy honk, here we go. Here comes the ride of self actualization and awareness, and it just kind of trickled down. I do have one brother that died from alcohol and drug abuse a few years ago, that never recovered. He was homeless for many years. He lived with me many, many times. We had to send him to Samoa to try to get some help.
Oh, please.
Yeah. We had to have him we had to commit him to drug and alcohol rehab, and some codependency things with some people in my family got him out earlier than he should have. And then he would just do the drugs and alcohol for coping. And then I even got him into Impact, and he lived with me during Impact, but I had to lovingly kick him out of my house because he wasn't following the ground rules, not only in my house, but also of the ground rules of trainings, and for himself, that I knew that I couldn't be codependent and enable him. And even though it killed me inside, I knew that that's what I got to do to protect my kids and myself and him.
Oh, sure.
So
it's tough. Loving an addict is difficult thing. So what I'm hearing you saying is it's not all rainbows and sunshine. It's a mindset. It's a choice that you're making over and over and over again. And I think that is amazing. Your story, each of these stories that I've heard is this choice being made.
Choices.
If I were to ask you, as you look back upon your life, and let's say you could go back to that 19-year-old Jennifer, and she just signed up for Peace Corps. Life is amazing. This is like the first, here comes the very first speed bump. It's just around the corner, Jen. You just haven't seen it yet. What advice would you give that girl?
Don't ever give up. Believe in yourself. You are powerful. You can do anything you put your mind to. There are people that love you that you don't even know. And there are people that are going through the exact same thing that you are, that you don't even know. So be kind every day and be love. That is it. Just be love. And when you come from that perfect place of authenticity and love, it's contagious. And it will actually, when you're being of service to others, it lifts you up. It gets you out of your own shit. It gets you out of your own grungies, and you get out of your own way because you're being there for other people. And that's one of the things I love about you, is your charity. And how you are so outward focused and caring for people and doing it without actually bragging, doing it without actually being prideful, doing it selflessly, without
That's a tremendous
expectation.
Compliment. Thank you.
And that's where it should come from.
Thank you.
Can you remind us what your charity's name is?
It's Thanksgiving's Heroes. We're 31 days away from the big day.
That's right.
It's pretty exciting that we're headed that way. I think it's generational. I have a similar story to yours as far as the dogma and how I was raised. And the theme is always, whenever you're in a bad place, whenever you're struggling, the best thing to do is serve other people, because the blessing is so much more. We get so much more than we can ever give. And so I always tell people that Thanksgiving's Heroes that's what saves my life. It's the medicine that's cured me and made me a better man and a better father and a better everythinger. I mean, it really has. And so I really resonate with your service-oriented life, because I can see where this is the medicine that helps you to have that positive outlook, because things can be terrible, things can be bad, but they could be much worse. And we've been places and seen those things that they have been worse. And so thank God that we're here today having this conversation and have the blessings that we have. And so I love your story, and I love the advice that you would give that young Jennifer. I think that is powerful. I think that's something that we all need to have. And I like to ask that question in these podcasts, because that is the nugget. That is the most powerful lesson. As I've grown older and I ask this question, this is what I've refined it down to. And it is, I need to come from a place of love. The thing that is amazing is I've asked this question over and over in the podcast. Have you noticed that it's
a reoccurring theme?
What is the theme?
Be love and forgive yourself.
And believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself.
And trust yourself. And these lessons that come over and over again, I need to be reminded of daily. I need to remember these things. And so I appreciate you sharing that. If you were to look forward now in this place of service and love and this journey that you've been on, you have so much capacity to serve and help other people because you've seen so much. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What would you, like, if things worked out perfectly, what would you be doing?
My why is not only just to create generational wealth for my kids and my family, but for others. So part of my reason for being here, I'm just going to share my impact statement with you if you don't mind.
Yeah,
please.
let's
Okay.
go.
Through being a beautiful, nurturing, inspiring, worthy woman of light, I am committed to create worldwide abundance, joy within, and passion by living my spiritual life with unconditional love, empowerment, patient teaching, and compassionate healing to all those I come in contact with in this universe. And so it is.
And so it is.
Bring it on.
That's awesome. Both of us give you an amen, and so it is. I love that. I got goosebumps. I got the spirit bumps. Thank you for sharing that. Powerful.
So where I want to be is I would love to be a philanthropist and do humanitarian work wherever I travel, wherever I see a need, to fill a need, to take my children and my grandchildren with me and to work with some of these great organizations that already do this work. So I don't recreate the wheel. I just am able to let them do more by contributing more to what they do already. Because I don't need that glory. I just want to be a part of it. And that's what I would love to do. And then to be able to do mortgages and investing from around the world, wherever I want to go, you know? And if I want to go and take care of one of my friends who has MS in North Carolina and stay with her for a month when she needs me, I can go. If I want to go to Israel and to the Gaza because those people need me, I can be of service and I can go anytime. And then my kids won't have to worry because they've got this money that's going to help take care of them, and they've got this amazing life insurance policy, and they've got these passive investments that I've created that they are now doing as well, that they're going to miss me, but they won't need me.
Still running into fires, but with a plan.
A plan.
Congratulations. What
Thank
an
you.
amazing place to be.
Thank you.
Well, I love that. As we are coming to the end of our podcast, our time together, Jennifer, what is the one message you'd like to share that you'd like to help raise that frequency of the earth and be that positive, powerful influence?
I always say come from spirit. If we come from a place of love and we expect good intent from others, and we assume, I don't like to assume, but if we assume good content from others, we're going to be less reactive. We're not going to judge to negativity about them. And if we come from a higher perspective and look as if we were like looking down and we could see what really is going on from a bird's eye view, you'll be surprised at what you can see. And that other people are going through things that we don't even know about. You know, like the person who has road rage as you're driving. Don't create more of it. Maybe they're rushing because their son was just killed by a drunk driver on their motorcycle sitting at a stoplight. My friend's son was just killed this weekend from that.
Oh, no.
And maybe their wife's in labor. Maybe it's that they're having a seizure and they're having a medical thing. Maybe someone isn't putting a happy smiley emoji with a, whatever at the end of their text message. It doesn't mean that they're angry. It doesn't mean they're mad. It doesn't mean anything. Verify, communicate, and be open to receive communication and be able to take feedback.
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it personally.
That's what I was going to say. It's not always about you.
Yeah,
No.
it's
Right?
not.
They're cutting you off. They don't have any idea who you are.
They haven't thought of you.
It's not about you.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. It's not about you.
Powerful.
And don't make it about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go
Because
out of your way.
you're not that important.
Yeah. Even though we think we are,
That's
we
right.
really do. Well, listen, Jennifer, as I endorse you and the opportunity to be a life coach and the opportunity to help out with mortgages and your dynamic investing, how could people find you that they could have this goodness in their life?
Oh, thank you for asking. I appreciate that ask. So they can reach me at Jennifer Wright at nexamortgage.com. And that's for mortgages and all things that, lending. And Jennifer at inspiredphoenix.org for all of my investing. And my phone number is 801-210-0158.
Be brilliant. And these things will be in the notes of the show.
Absolutely.
That we can look up. And also, if you
Sure.
have a social media influence or handles that you would like us to share, we'd love to have those in the notes, because being an influence for good, we would love to support you in spreading your message and this wisdom that you're sharing with us. Thank you very much for your time
Thank you.
tonight.
You're welcome. I would love to have your information as well so that I can put it out to all my humanitarians and put the word out, even with the bells, with my investing networks. I was one of the initial founders of the Utah Women's Real Estate Investing Network, and
Wow.
I'm surrounded by powerful people, as well as some of my other contacts. Let's put a drive together. Let's create some more awareness, because I'm all about paying it forward too. And so let's make the magic happen, Captain.
All right. I love that.
Jennifer,
So if you want to see her, I have a lot of videos that.
Okay. that she's in. All right. Check out
And
Kelly.
we have more planned.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the American Masterminds podcast. If you have enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Please comment, like it, subscribe, be a part of the community that is making a change in the world. Our goal here isn't just to share information, but it is to improve your life and the life of those that are around you, and be a part of this organization in sharing it and passing this message along. Powerful messages tonight that are worthy of your time and worthy of your family's time. Be sure to like us. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.